Women, what's the one thing we men do that angers you off? My mind boils when a guy invalidates me just because I'm a young woman, especially old men. I had a 35-year-old man as a trainee at work who wouldn't listen to me or do what I asked him to do. On day 2, I had enough and told him to pack his crap and get out if he won't listen to me. Since he was under my care, I could send him home. We started shouting at each other, and I was really about to drag his ass out to the parking lot behind the building. This resulted in me calling my manager, whom I was very good friends with since both of us worked the same schedule in a graveyard shift. My manager spoke to him. Only then the guy started to pack his bag and left. What happened? Well, the guy said to the manager that he refused to listen to me since I was a woman. In his culture, a woman is supposed to listen to a man, not the other way around. When asked about the shouting fight, he told the manager that I must have been on my period and had PMS. I was about to find this dude's house and rip him. Well, he sounds like an absolute delight. Story 2. I have a list for any men who need to know this. Do not make assumptions about our body and anatomy. Periods can be very painful. Don't call us females. Not dividing childcare or household chores equally. Weaponized incompetence. Respect our decisions. Not everything essential. No catcalls or unsolicited pics. Don't make assumptions based on how we dress that we deserve to be shamed. Do not mansplain to us something we already understand. It's okay to open up to us. Most of us don't care and we'll try to help you. No, you cannot turn me straight. I have a girlfriend. I will never have had the right thing. Stop telling us to calm down or smile more. We can be strong too. Story 3. I work with all men. All I hear all day is them having contests about literally everything. Sports and dehumanizing women. I've worked with all men for about 6 years at 3 different companies and it's always the same. Makes me wonder if this is all they bond over. To the point where we know when one coworker gets fun because his mood is better. To the point I know about all of their significant others in bed without their consent. To the point that I know about some things they've done in private but felt comfortable telling the boys. Totally not appropriate for work. I see men saying they don't share this all the time, but personal experience proved this so false. I feel horrible for their girlfriend or woman they're with. It is annoying, but I'm working my dream job. Every company's culture is awful. I know what I'm good at and qualified for. Not downplaying myself whatsoever. This is the field I want to be in and flourish in. It's just dominated by men. It is what it is. I'm angered every day, so men angering me is inevitable. I answered because it popped up. If it was that terrible, I'd leave. I'm not going to disrupt my income over men being gross. That's literally everywhere. I'm used to people being unsavory in life in general. This is just what angers me off about men. I'm surprised they haven't started a biggest bicep contest yet. Or maybe they have, and she just hasn't noticed. Story 4. Why do men mess with our thumbnails in the most ridiculous way possible? Every guy I've been with will literally push on the end of it like it's a plastic straw, mindlessly, like it's not a part of my body. Please stop doing that. It bends the sides. What exactly do you think is going to happen? Why do you do this? It hurts. It ruins weeks of growth. It's incredibly inconsiderate and thoughtless. Even the most sweetest of guys I've dated just immediately start pushing down on the end of my thumbnail when we hold hands. I don't understand the thought process. Do you not think the act of pushing down on a nail will hurt by itself? Are your nail beds numb? Does it not hurt you? I'm sorry, I'm so heated. I just don't understand how it happens so frequently. Story 5. Seeing me and hearing me plan big things. Example, parties, tattoo design, photo shoot. And every step of the way I ask for an opinion or some kind of thoughts. Yet I'm given nothing. Only nods of acknowledgement that I am planning something. Then literally the night before or day of the event, he tells me everything wrong and how he doesn't agree and wants me to change certain details. How he's worried about cost, timing, and how it messes with his plans. It's like, dude, you had a full week to tell me your concerns. I've asked you multiple times and you say it has nothing to do with you. Then all of a sudden you won't get off my back. It happens every single time. It's very, very frustrating. Story 6. Not understanding the word no the first time. I have so many different contexts where this has happened. I had one guy that I had to train at work. He asked me questions for 5 hours. The questions? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you willing to cheat on your boyfriend? Are you into one-night stands? Are you guys into triads? Would you date me if you didn't have a boyfriend, etc.? Finally, at the end, I let him leave early of his shift. He says, so I don't get a chance with you, do I? Like, no, of course not. It shouldn't take 5 hours for you to realize that, man. Also, I've had many guys call me honey or sweetheart while working and then try to caress my shoulder. I tell them no and to stop, and again, do you not understand the word no? I never understood how some men think this is appropriate. Story 7. Disrespectful behavior, especially common on the internet. I play in an all-women clan in Destiny 2 and often get pestered by men for no other reason than me being a woman. Strangers I never even played with before message me. Last week, I had one member join my fire team Unsolicited and ask me for explicit stuff, whatever that means. I thought about reporting him, but I just muted his mic and let him waste his time until he got bored. But to be honest, this sort of stuff should never happen. People have no respect for others anymore. Thanks to anonymity. This sort of stuff is why women rarely go on mic in video games, and that's why it looks like there are so few women who play. We can't have nice things because of these guys. Story 8. This might not just be a man thing, but it is something most men in my life do to me. That is, assuming that you have no experience in something that you have a lot of experience in. For example, I've been playing D&D since I was 12. I went to the store to buy some dice, only for the worker to explain how D&D works without me asking. Afterwards, I, probably rudely, I didn't mean to, explained I've been playing D&D for a good while. My mother said I was rude. Lol. Also, worst thing ever, men lack the ability to anticipate needs. You have to specifically ask for any and everything you need from them, whether emotionally, physically, or tangibly. Women anticipate needs. Oh, we're going on a trip? Let me pack the kids' ibuprofen just in case they need it. You have soccer Tuesday nights? Let me make sure I wash your soccer socks Monday. You have a business trip coming up? Let me make sure your suit has been dry cleaned recently. Not men. Nope. Need a handwritten bullet point list of everything needed from them or they didn't know. Story 9. I hate being hit on by strange men in public. It's really desperate. Plus, neither of you know anything about the other. There's no knowing if this person is dangerous, whether they have a good job or savings, their personality and other red flags. I just hate that guys look at a woman's physical characteristics and decide that's the woman for them, irregardless of anything else or who she is as a person. From hearing all the Dateline, news, or stories via social media, the monsters out there, it's too much of a risk for someone to just take a chance on a person they've never met. Story 10. Do you want a list? Because I have it alphabetized. The most recent one is when I was on a first date to an arcade with this guy I had matched with on a dating app. It was going really well so far, and the topic of movie series came up. When I casually mentioned I like Star Wars, he immediately started quizzing me. When I refused to play along, he got upset, called me a fake fan, then ended the date. Like, what the hell? This is not the first time, and probably not the last either, that I've been asked to prove myself by a man when I said I enjoyed a series. Be it comics, TV series, movie franchises, anything and everything. I never claimed to be all-knowing or a better fan. Why can't we just enjoy things casually? Why do men feel the need to make us prove we enjoyed something? Especially if it's an interest we both share. At least I dodged that there. Story 11. Using intimidation to get what they want. Is it necessary to tower over me and speak in an aggressive tone? Like, do they enjoy making young women nervous or afraid? I don't anymore because it's happened so much I'm desensitized. Still angers me off. But I remember how fast my heart was going when I was a kid working at McDonald's and some old schmuck was trying to intimidate me into preventing the prices from increasing. Really happy that the younger generation men aren't doing this with the frequency that the older men are. Oddly enough, their problems get solved a lot better because I'm not trying to get rid of them as fast as I can. I'm glad the younger generation is breaking the cycle. Maybe they've learned from the mistakes of their elders. Story 12. I have a few. Number 1, assuming we know less about something or not taking it seriously because we're women. Someone did a study where a bunch of people had to read 2 identical essays. The only difference is one had a male name and one had a female name. They deemed the one with a male name higher quality than the one with a female name. They were identical. Number 2, saying women have no sense of humor when they were literally pestering or making the women in question uncomfortable. Number 3, the pay gap. Number 4, that it's somehow our fault men, not all, but definitely a lot of them, can't control their thing. The state, I think Ohio or Oregon, made a law saying bosses could fire their employees for being too attractive that they might cheat. Story 13. Weaponized ignorance. Using threats of violence, aggression, intimidation, or other methods to attempt to control people around them. thinking others are obligated to fulfill their main character syndrome narrative because they have a Johnson. The ultimate, using threats of violence, aggression, intimidation, or other methods under the guise of not understanding the consequences and connotations of their actions when they damn well know exactly what they're doing. Example, following and crowding or trapping a lone person into a corner is creepy and potentially dangerous for the victim and should not be tolerated. Bumping into people to bring attention to the weapon on your belt should be criminal. Calling a woman crazy or dumb or attention-seeking for not tolerating your mistreatment doesn't forgive your actions. Just because you want to talk to me does not mean I am obligated to engage. Respect people's boundaries and stop acting ignorant about crossing them when you earn unwanted consequences. Story 14. This applies to men and women. People who forget how to be self-sufficient so others will do things for them. That annoys the hell out of me. Like feeding yourself, being clean, pumping gas, taking care of your own basic needs. Because nothing about being a capable, self-sufficient human being has a gender. If you were single, would you just lay in a ditch until someone did things for you? It's different if you create an agreement with someone or someone wants to do things for you. And even then, it's important to realize that nothing and no one lasts forever. Story 15. Not recognizing their worth. I have a lot of male friends and family members who think so poorly of themselves they stay in cruel relationships. I understand that men want to be guardians, and I admire that, but don't protect the one draining you slowly. Get help. Get out. It's absolutely okay to stand by a partner who's getting help and treating you better all the time. It's not okay to stand and let them tear you down to the point you end it all. I have a brother and a friend who have nearly taken their lives because they felt they had no other way out. I'm so furious when this happens to any gender, but it's not talked about enough with some men. They need support. They need to be told it's okay to leave. Before you come at me, this doesn't in any way negate the massive amount of women who are suffering. I am a woman. I have been mistreated. I'm very aware. When I say these are good men who are being mistreated, mentally and physically, I mean men who work hard, take more than their share of the housework, and go out of their way to help others. They are adoring, attentive fathers. One I've seen who was working 60 hours but was happy to play with his kids and help them with homework, cook dinner, clean the cat litter, do laundry, clean the house just to be near them while his wife complained, belittled and cheated on him. He was afraid if he left, she'd start treating the kids worse and he'd never get even partial custody. He believed her cruel words. Maybe he was the problem. He stayed for 10 years, planned on ending it all, but stopped himself because he didn't want to hurt his kids. Hopefully it doesn't have to be said that I'm not mad at them. I'm furious over the helplessness I feel to save them. Story 16. Anytime men, usually older men to be honest, just kind of assume they know things and suggest things out of that ignorance. 2 examples, both from my dad and stepdad. My aunt had a hysterectomy and was struggling with depression, and my dad, out of nowhere, said, "You have to go on hormones," because he just thought that's what her problem was. It was not hormonal. Depression about never having kids again never occurred to him. Cruel and obnoxious. Next up, my stepdad has told me at least half a dozen times that as soon as my baby is old enough to eat baby food, I need to stop breastfeeding. As soon as he cuts his first tooth, that's when you need to wean him. And other things that just aren't in line with how it works. American pediatrics recommend at least 12 months. The World Health Organization says 24 months is ideal. Plus, with these formula shortages and babies suffering from shifty chemicals in these garbage American companies' baby formula, I should wean my kid because what? Because you are uncomfortable with something that A, has nothing to do with you, and B, you're not informed on. Legit, neither of these dudes know crap about women's health and obviously didn't even think to research before straight up telling women what to do. I know this is anecdotal, but I know 100% my dads aren't the only boomer bros doing this. Story 17. Most men I've dealt with had communication issues. They always have preconceived notions about your response and reaction once they communicate their needs. The pattern goes something like this. You bring up a concern, they apologize and assure that it won't happen again, and you start trusting them because the issue isn't that big enough to walk away yet. But a few days or weeks later, they again do the same thing that they said they wouldn't do, and when you're upset about it, they act like it's not a big deal, that you're the one that's being dramatic about the situation. When you do get in your feelings, they just dismiss you, and their response is that it won't happen again. There are also times when they already know that they can't make it for something. That could be an event, a trip, or whatever, but they'll tell you that they'll let you know and get back to you. When they don't get back to you, your plans are pending too, and you're in hopes that things will pan out, though they don't. On the other end, you're going insane, wondering why they haven't gone back to you about it yet. And now having to reach out to them without appearing needy is another struggle. Like if you already know that you can't make it or do something, don't sign up for it in the first place. And the times when you say that you'll get back to us, but you don't, that's the most frustrating part. Why is it so fun to mess with people's feelings and kindness? Story 18. You don't talk about what's bothering you to us when we ask. You assume we aren't listening to you and you've already decided what our reaction will be. This hurts so much. Generally, we love you, warts and all. We will stand by you no matter what your eccentricities are until it's hurting us and our kids. I am brokenhearted that my ex-husband wouldn't take part in our relationship at all and made me his mommy for everything. Our kids suffered. I suffered. And when things hit the fan with social services, I only spoke the truth. But my ex couldn't handle owning up to his neglect. So he hurt me out of frustration and abandoned our kids and me to save face. At least his friends sided with me. My ex isn't a bad guy, just someone who was neglected by his parents, so never learned much. Story 19. Thinking that they can always help. From giving us advice when we want to just rant to catcalling us with "smile, you hottie," or thinking they can change non-straight to straights because you never had a good Johnson, as if you can't order them online. But no, we can think for ourselves. We know what we want. And some answers make every woman want to just become one due to some answers men make. And I know most men don't do this, but when it happens, it can really feel like you're taking it from under my nails. Also, guys who assume I'm totally incompetent. It's not just work. It's not just mansplaining. It's assuming we can't do really basic things ourselves. I don't mind when men are trying to be helpful. Offering assistance when I'm struggling with something is a totally different animal and not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is the guy that says, "Don't hurt yourself," and rushes over when I'm lifting something heavier than 10 pounds. Like, come on. It's over other tiny things too. In college, I was in a CS major and dudes were acting like I messed up my computer when I was using Linux, which they didn't know about because they had no business telling me how to set up my computer. Genuine help? Good. Condescending? Bad. If you're not sure about the difference, ask yourself if you would leave a 13-year-old boy alone when he was doing the same thing. If the answer is yes, strangle the urge to help and take off. Story 20. So apart from everything that everyone else says, I'm a teenager and have quite a few male friends. It absolutely angers me the hell off when they joke about me being on my period if I get angry. Or, again, joke about women's rights or laugh at me and mockingly tell me, "Oh, you're such an independent woman," when all I want to do is do things by myself. E.g. lift something or move something, or things like that. It's not about them joking about it, really. They're stupid teenagers, but it's the fact they don't see that it's not funny at all. I laugh or grit my teeth because they won't listen anyway, but it really bothers me. It's really something that should not be normalized at all. This point also applies with other offensive words. They're not funny. That crap is serious. Stop normalizing it as teenage antics. Story 21. You think there's just one thing? 36 male here, but I've been married for a while. Been in enough relationships prior to marriage and observed enough women to be able to say this. If they had to say one thing, I think they would say our ego and how often our pride starts unnecessary fights. When I'm honest with myself, I realize that I start 95% of fights. This has been true in several relationships, not just in my marriage. Your wife or girlfriend telling you that you hurt her feelings isn't starting a fight. Your wife reminding you to mow the lawn isn't starting a fight. Your wife telling you that no, she's stressed and on edge, so she doesn't want intimacy tonight isn't starting a fight. Your wife telling you to do the dishes again isn't starting a fight. Your wife saying no, you can't go out with your friends, you have to take your son to Cub Scouts, isn't starting a fight. It is our response to these daily, routine responsibilities that starts the fight. It is us charging in for battle when our wife or girlfriend reminds us about her expectations of us that starts the fight. Pride quite possibly destroys more marriages and relationships than anything else, and all because we can't shut up and admit that we are wrong. I'm sure there would be a lot more time for cuddling and intimacy if we stopped wasting time starting fights. Story 22. Not reading the room when you're overly flirtatious towards one woman in particular while completely ignoring your girlfriend, especially when there are other people around to witness and feel bad for your girlfriend. Screaming at your girlfriend is also pretty awful. The worst is if your screaming is due to her expressing how your actions made her feel. There are multiple ways to internalize the angry feeling, but it's probably difficult to see the result of your actions if gaslighting is your go-to. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 23. You are so aggressive when familiarizing with a stranger that it literally makes us not want to give it up, even if we really want to get some. You have no clue what you do to us. I have men-based trauma, and honestly, all I ask for is respect and patience to at least not be perfect strangers. But no, the sleaziest lines or the gently ones or the it's just banter get depleted, and I feel like a piece of meat. And sadly, I'm a piece of meat that can't stop fighting for the last bit of dignity and self-respect that I have, so I have to keep just kicking off at them for being rude and pathetic, kinda. They really do ask for it. I'm so alone and sad. Because I really do love men. I see how amazing you guys are and can be, but not for us. Because we're just useless, boring, dramatic, emotional, whatever. Just slow down a little. Let us want you before you imagine us at hello. Also, I want to chat to someone. Story 24. Men are socialized from a very young age to hate women. Their worst insult is for someone to say they did something like a girl or a woman. However, they're taught to love having a woman with them, simply for status with other men. I could never understand how my ex, 2 former relationships actually, could say he loved me but at the same time be so incredibly cruel and insulting. He was constantly criticizing and yelling and trying to change me into something I couldn't possibly be. Having a fight is one thing, but when nothing is ever resolved and it just becomes constant criticism, there's something else wrong with the relationship. It's not love. Story 25. Leaving the toilet seat up when flushing. Our towels are hanging right next to the toilet, and it's just so disgusting to think about the dirty water splashing around. Not washing their hands after going to the bathroom and them lying about it. I can hear if you turn the faucet on, and it's even worse if I'm right there in the bathroom, seeing you leave without washing your hands. Not wanting to cuddle, claiming 5 minutes is enough per day is unacceptable. Making fun of me for getting annoyed. Being a hypocrite. Getting annoyed at me for not doing laundry because he can't wear the garments that's in the dresser. He claims they're to sleep in, and I can't find any clean spoons to eat with. Laundry's my task and his is dishwashing. Getting aggressive towards other people, especially our neighbors. Our neighbors may not be the nicest, that's no excuse to threaten violence. Wanting to watch something together. Letting me choose because he doesn't care, and then being unhappy with my choice. I thought we'd both enjoy it, but he clearly didn't. He then chooses something I'm not interested in. Denying that his hair can clog up drains just as much as mine. He shaves his head frequently and loses body hair, which contributes to the problem. Using roughly half a bottle of deodorant, leaving me to choke on the fumes when entering the bathroom after him. Not understanding that I freeze easily. He claims he doesn't feel cold but still takes part of the blanket I'm using. Then he lets in cold air through gaps in the blanket. Story 26. I have several deal breakers. No call, no shows. In this day and age, there's no excuse for not communicating. A man should be responsible enough to let me know if he's running late or can't make it. Living with parents. If you're of age and financially capable, you shouldn't be living with your parents unless you're contributing financially. Mooching off your parents isn't attractive. Reliable transportation. Having your own transportation or the means to afford alternatives is essential. I don't want to be responsible for driving you everywhere. I understand that life can be tough and everyone goes through hard times. However, a serious relationship isn't the right thing to focus on during those times. Prioritize securing basic necessities like food, shelter, and safety. I've been through cruel relationships, both physically, emotionally, and financially. That's why I need a mature partner who is employed, has reliable transportation, and can support himself. I'm not looking for a sugar mama role. Story 27. Treating women as if we're not people. This occurs in a lot of ways. Writing off our ideas, but accepting them when presented by man. Getting mad when women are in male-dominated fields and treating us badly over it by ostracizing the women, pastoring them, speaking out against them, etc. I remember a famous male race car driver openly saying women don't belong in racing. It's driving a car in a circle and it doesn't take a thing to do. And lastly, another popular way women aren't treated as real people by men is we are often ignored by partners' male friends, as though we don't exist because of some idiot bro code that makes men treat us like we're their friend's property. They can't talk to us in a group setting because we're taken, and you don't want your bro to think you're trying to hit on us. Story 28. I can't stand it when someone starts baby calling, or other sweet names or girly etc. me when we don't even know each other yet. I don't know the correct spelling for the words in English because that's not my first language, but I hope you all get the point. That's just something that makes me want to cringe, run, roll my eyes, and move in the middle of a forest in an abandoned house alone with my cats forever. And every single one who I have met and started to speak with, they all have started to speak like this in the first 3 days or so. If I've told you that I don't feel comfortable about this, it's even. Number 1, it's just a cute nickname. Number 2, don't be so negative. Number 3, what should I call you then, idiot? So yes, I have decided that being a crazy cat mama who crochets is all I need. Also yelling at games and breaking keyboards or controllers and slamming on their desk in anger at a game. My ex broke many keyboards, mice, and controllers. He even broke a weld in his desk that was right where he'd constantly slam on when he was mad. It's extremely unattractive because it shows poor anger management. If something is genuinely that frustrating, you should have turned off the game and done something else long before it came to breaking your own stuff. He never learned any lesson because he'd order new stuff on Amazon to be delivered the same day and keep gaming. Story 29. A guy who judges or forms conclusions or opinions soon based on appearance, status, gossip, etc. There was a debate program at my college. The arguments presented by a person were so bad and stupid, everyone was talking about how bad he was. The debate was over and it was break time. A guy whom I knew for about 6 months was standing in the corridor. I just said hi. He responded with, "I think you would have liked his argument a lot." I was kind of shocked because he appeared serious while saying this. Actually, the point was, I was always called a boring, uncool kid in school. I felt really bad about all this because I really thought this guy was kind and not judgmental. Also, some men act like they can only respect women as equals or equally smart if they aren't afraid or intimidated by their stupid chest-puffing alpha nonsense. It just makes it more obvious when they're disrespecting everyone else, especially women who aren't confrontational or who are more introverted or quiet, but perhaps more emotionally or socially skilled. I had one guy in work training who was very stereotypical machismo. Being Latina myself, I was like, okay, whatever. I once corrected him when he answered a question in our training class wrong. He tried to argue and I proved I was right and the instructor confirmed. And it was like, after that, he treated me with more respect than basically all the other men in the class because I'd proved myself by showing he was wrong. It doesn't make me feel good. It just makes it more obvious when those dudes still speak over other women or don't treat them as intellectual equals. Somehow just because they aren't loud. And I am tired of men who meet a woman and then instantly decide on trying to get her to fit whatever role they most desire rather than finding out anything about her. Stop coding women based on whether or not they perform stereotypical femininity. That's weird. It's so unattractive to just assume that a woman who doesn't immediately assert her opinions verbally must be a sub, and a woman who does feel comfortable confronting alpha BS must be a good dominatrix in the making. Some kind of bizarre extension of a Madonna complex, to be honest. Story 30. Asking questions like this one, or what are some of the biggest turn-ons, are pointless, because most women actually have no idea. You're always going to get responses like, I like nice guys who are super genuine, enjoy long walks on the beach, know how to control their anger, are polite to everyone and are super sensitive and in touch with their emotions. And I dislike guys who are arrogant, rude to people, and have short tempers. But the one they always end up choosing is the schmuck. Almost every time. Why? Because most of them actually like confidence, spontaneity, the thrill of danger in the project. I can change him. And schmucks have all those qualities. Well, the nice guys they say they want are actually boring. So there you go. What they say they want and what they actually go for are often two very different things. Story 31. I work in a field where men are the majority. They dismiss my ideas or my knowledge about a subject, then later use it as if they figured it out themselves. Then there are the guys who aren't like that but don't believe we're treated as such, because they themselves aren't like that. One of my work colleagues had to witness a situation unfold firsthand to see it happen to us. I was sent to help with a job I was familiar with. I arrive and I'm trying to speak to different people in the job. Our hard hats are marked in a way to differentiate our roles. I explain what they're doing isn't the correct way to handle this equipment. Had the procedure in hand and was willing to explain, but no one would listen. As I'm talking to one of the main people in charge, he's not even looking at me. My colleague walks up to say hi. We have the same markings in our hard hat. Immediately, they all turn to him and start asking him questions about it. And he's like, I don't know a thing about this. She's the expert. She's loaded a bunch of these. Only then did they want to listen, but still seemed salty and skeptical. I ended up walking away since it wasn't actually my job and I was only sent to help. I had my own crew to run, and these guys were wasting my time. My colleague ended up apologizing for not believing me and was actually kind of shocked. From then on, he was able to spot the behavior. Story 32. Acting like they know everything and just simply being delusional about it when they get proven wrong. It took way too long for me to learn that men say things they're not certain about with 100% confidence. No concerns about the struggles they may cause to others by lying. Not taking the responsibility when things go wrong thanks to the absolute information they shared. Probably just gonna blame anyone else around for the struggles they caused. Whereas I only say things I actually know for sure, which will make me look very incapable and them very capable. Even if I was actually the one more capable when it comes to the knowledge and the skills. I even wonder if this perform capability is one of the reasons why men have it easier to get to the leader positions. No one seems to notice what they're actually doing, just what they seem capable of doing. Story 33. The constant "we need to" and inserting anything related into the sentence and never actually doing it yourself. Oh, the trash stinks. We need to take it out. But not actually taking the trash out yourself. Just announcing it needs to be done is not helping one bit. If something is dirty or needs to be done, don't announce it. Just do it. My husband does this all the time. Some of the times when it happens, it's not something we'll consider doing. He said, "You need to do the laundry. I'm out of socks." And I replied, "No, you need to do your own laundry." The pretending to help and then bailing at the first chance. We were unloading a very full dishwasher. He takes a wooden spoon, a spatula, and 2 other cooking utensils to put them away and then leaves me with the actual unloading and loading of the dishwasher. Oh, that angers me off. My husband got mad because I wasn't being as helpful as he wanted when hanging screen doors. Yet when I ask for help, he says, "You're a strong, independent woman. You can do it yourself." Like, come on. He tried asking me to remember his family's birthdays and remind him. I laughed and said, "I remember bill dates, coordinating repair workers, vet appointments, cleaning, grocery shopping, meal planning, my family's events, and a lot of other stuff. I'm not taking that one too." Story 34. Going all Tom Shelby. Not wanting to ask for help just so you won't bother other people. Rather attempting to end it all than asking for help, to not be a burden for others. What bothers others is not having you around. Like it or not, but you're loved. Reach out, please. Losing a loved one is the biggest burden. I've been through 2 men who I love, attempting to end it all because they didn't want to ask for help. They both seemed fine, so one couldn't do much. It's so sad, but it's not until they're in a mental hospital that you're allowed to support them. There is help, from both professionals and friends. But if you really don't want to live, then get help from someone who has the education for it. I know society has made you that way, but let's make a change instead. Story 35. Complaining about lack of money, yet buying game merchandise and a pen twice a week and ordering out. This is if he's not trying to slow down on this. Basically complaining about something that's his fault and never working to fix. Getting and trying. It takes a while to learn this stuff. This is only annoying if I've been begging you to give me any compliment or sweet thing and nothing for months or affection. When I bring up an issue, a woman or I faced immediately saying, "Guys go through that too," but instantly defending the guy. Defending a cheater in a story I'm telling him. Letting his friends talk down to me and disrespect me. Drive recklessly. Like rude memes and iFunny and save them. Weaponized ignorance that yes, that girl basically trying to fuse to you and touching you and flirting with you. It's just plain rude, incompetent if it gets to a point. When I explain I would like something to be done, like if I tell you I'm slightly insecure and aware it's not realistic, but I would like reassurance, I get, "That's stupid. Just stop thinking about that." With no reassurance. These can mostly all apply to women, these are just turn-offs for me and there are obvious exceptions. Story 36. It angers me off that men don't support each other emotionally. Won't go to therapy, then blame women for their problems. So many men succumb to toxic masculinity and think they need to be stoic around other men instead of being real with them. They'll be friends with another dude for 10 years but never tell them they love them and appreciating having them in their life. They refuse to offer comfort in any way other than an awkward pat on the back or "That's rough, bro." They don't know how to listen and jump to trying to distract or solve because sitting with negative emotions is too hard. I think younger generations are getting better at this, but holy hell, it's caused a lot of suffering for all genders that men are so emotionally stunted and closed off from each other. They lean more heavily on the women in their lives than get angry at them when they can't support the weight of their lifetime of emotional baggage. Go to therapy, guys. Please. Story 37. Every man I've ever dated or lived with was so wildly bad at finding regular items in the house, or putting things back or where they belong. For example, it took my husband like 2 full years to learn to put the kitchen scissors back in a particular drawer with all the other cooking utensils, or he will leave a used dish next to the sink instead of the actual sink. I'm convinced men do stuff like this, specifically so we have to just do it ourselves the right way. The other, and more serious thing, is how often men brush off stories of cruelty. Just yesterday, I had shared information about a known convict who had managed to find work back within the music scene he was ousted from back when this all happened. Basically, he denied all the allegations and even doubled down, publicly declaring his wife, his victim, a traitor. Really scummy guy. Anyway, I shared this info and was like, it's just really awful to see people working with this guy again. And not only did most men, literally within the same industry, not even know who he was, when I explained who he was, I was met with all sorts of random defenses of him. Maybe she was lying. Nope, he was convicted. There was a ton of evidence. Maybe he grew and changed his ways. No. He literally released public work regarding the case and referenced her being a traitor who deserved it. Years ago, I was mistreated by a male friend and I outed him for it. Since we were both known people in our industry, the news went viral and men who didn't even know me suggested I was lying, even after the guy publicly admitted what he had done. That is the crap that really angers me off. And before anyone comes at me with some not all men BS, it's enough men that this is a universally known issue. Story 38. I've never gotten this from another woman, though I recognize that it could happen. But I've had men, from my dad to a 10-year-old boy, do this to me, and it drives me insane. When asked for something that I cannot provide, asking again, and again, and again, and again. The best example was after Halloween, the neighbor's kid came over for a visit. I was teaching him how to loom knit. He was enthusiastic and really good at it. As we were finishing up, he said, "Candy?" I did a little eyebrow wiggle. I told him we didn't have any. We didn't. It had all been given out. But he asked again. Same eyebrow wiggle. This went on for a solid 3 minutes before he finally gave up. I have men of all ages do this to me all the damn time. Sometimes I don't have what they want. Sometimes I do not know how to give them what they want. Not even intimately, just everyday things. And I can't just say no because men don't believe in that word, apparently. I have to carefully explain in terms a small child could understand why I cannot do or give the thing. I was talking about this in therapy and my male therapist stopped, blinked a couple times and said, "I've done that to my wife." I told him to stop. She probably hates it. I mean, asking a couple times teasingly might be funny or cute, but just unending repetition? It's not cute. Story 39. Only wanting to address the literal. Hypotheticals or asking to imagine how you might feel so often got me verbally attacked as they didn't want to prepare for might happen or consider if that were you. Only what they've decided will happen needs to be prepared, and their response is only to those things that have happened. Even if it's happened before, they don't want to think beyond the now in that way, especially if you're asking them to consider someone else's feelings. I don't like to generalize, but with dozens of family, friends, and dates, this is a common approach. Not saying incapable, they just refuse to have the conversation most, if not ever. So any slight to you or lack of prep to a situation, it was unforeseeable and you or your response is irrational. Story 40. Literally not respecting the physical space I take up. I notice it daily while moving myself in public places. A common example being not stepping aside enough while passing each other in the street, leaving the majority of adjustment up to me if I don't want to get bumped into. Continuing to mindlessly bump into me while standing next to me in a bar. His bumps are only caused by his own wild hand gestures. Taking a step back in a queue without looking over their shoulder first to see if someone is behind them. These are just some incidents from this weekend. Lol. There are numerous examples that seem insignificant when isolated. I don't live in a crowded city, but I constantly find myself physically adjusting to create space between myself and this type of men that move their bodies inconsiderately. Most of the time, they seem completely unaware, which is frustratingly privileged. Other times, they're schmucks who enjoy this, and I like to terminate them in my thoughts. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video.